There is a reason life no longer feels the way it used to. A reason familiar things don't comfort you anymore. A reason even your dua sounds different when it leaves your lips. This is not confusion. This is not loss of faith. And this is definitely not Allah leaving you. When Allah plans to give you a different life, He first trains your heart for it. He removes what you depended on. He delays what you expected. He silences what once reassured you, not to break you, but to rebuild you for a level you were not ready to enter before. If you feel stretched, unsettled, or quietly exhausted inside, it's because Allah is shaping a heart that will survive where your old one could not. Listen carefully. This season is not the end of you. It is the training ground. This pain you are carrying did not enter your life by accident. It was not a mistake, and it is not a sign that something has gone wrong. Allah does not allow the heart to ache without purpose. What feels confusing to you is already measured, already known, already written with wisdom. When pain arrives without explanation, it is often because explanation would interfere with the lesson. Allah is not reacting to your situation. He is guiding it with precision. There are moments when life feels heavier than what your strength seems to allow. You wake up tired even after rest, and the heart feels crowded with unspoken weight. This is not weakness. This is the soul being stretched beyond familiar limits. Allah expands the heart, the same way muscles are expanded through resistance. Ease does not reveal depth, but difficulty exposes what truly lives inside you. You may wonder why this had to happen now, why things changed when you were finally finding balance. But stability can sometimes make the heart settle where it should not stay. Allah disturbs comfort when comfort begins to replace dependence on Him. This disturbance is not cruelty, it is mercy in disguise. He refuses to let your heart remain small when it was created for something greater. Pain often arrives when words no longer work. Advice sounds empty, reassurance feels distant, and even patience feels exhausting. This silence around your struggle is intentional. Allah teaches some lessons without witnesses, so that sincerity can grow without performance. When no one sees your endurance except Allah, the heart learns who it truly lives for. You may feel as though parts of you are being stripped away. Your certainty, your confidence, your expectations. This removal is not destruction, it is refinement. Allah removes what the heart leans on too heavily so that it can stand on faith alone. What remains after this process is not emptiness, but clarity. A heart lighter, quieter, and more anchored than before. Sometimes pain enters not to punish the past, but to protect the future. Allah sees paths you cannot see, and endings you cannot imagine. He blocks, delays, and redirects because He knows where each road leads. The ache you feel today may be saving you from a sorrow you never had to endure. Protection does not always look gentle. The heart resists change even when change is necessary. It clings to what is familiar, even if it is harmful. Allah intervenes when attachment becomes a threat to peace. Pain becomes the signal that something must shift. What hurts now is often the very thing that would have harmed you later if left untouched. You are not failing because you feel overwhelmed. You are not weak because you feel tired. Pain does not mean your faith is lacking. It means your heart is in motion. Allah does not work on hearts that are stagnant. He works on hearts that are alive enough to feel, to question, and to grow. There are lessons that cannot be taught through comfort. Some truths only settle into the heart when the world falls quiet. Pain clears the noise. It forces the heart to listen. When distractions fade and illusions collapse, the soul finally hears what Allah has been calling it toward all along. What feels like a breaking point is often a turning point. Allah allows pressure to build until the heart can no longer remain the same. Change does not happen gently when resistance is strong. Pain becomes the doorway through which transformation enters. On the other side of this discomfort is a version of you that could not exist without it. You may feel misunderstood, isolated, or emotionally alone. This loneliness is not abandonment. Allah sometimes separates the heart from people so it can reconnect fully with Him. When reliance shifts away from creation, the heart learns stability that no human presence can provide. Pain humbles the heart in ways success never could. It reminds you how fragile control truly is. It teaches surrender without negotiation. In this humility, the heart becomes teachable again. Allah shapes hearts that bow willingly, not hearts that obey only when life is easy. There is a quiet strength being built inside you right now. You cannot see it, and you may not feel it yet, but it is forming. Every moment you endure without understanding adds weight to that strength. Allah is building resilience beneath the surface, where it cannot be shaken by future storms. This pain is not here to stay forever. It has a purpose, and once that purpose is fulfilled, it will loosen its grip. Allah does not prolong hardship without wisdom. When the heart has learned what it needed to learn, relief arrives naturally, without force. You are being prepared, not punished. The difference lies in intention, and Allah's intention is always mercy. Even when the road is painful, it leads somewhere meaningful. The heart being shaped now will recognize peace when it arrives, instead of fearing it. There will come a day when you look back and realize this pain redirected you. It saved you from becoming someone you were never meant to be. It taught you what truly matters and what was never worth holding on to. Clarity often comes after endurance. Right now, you are inside the process, not the outcome. That is why it feels heavy. Trust that Allah does not waste pain. Every tear, every sleepless night, every quiet prayer is being counted and transformed into something greater than you can see. This season is not asking you to understand everything. It is asking you to remain connected. Faith is not proven by answers, but by staying turned toward Allah when answers are absent. That is where real trust is formed. Pain simplifies the heart. It strips away unnecessary desires and false priorities. What remains is what truly belongs there. Allah uses difficulty to return the heart to its original purpose, servitude, reliance, and peace through Him alone. If this pain were meaningless, it would have broken you completely. The fact that you are still standing, still hoping, still turning toward Allah means it is working. You are not lost in this season. You are being guided through it, one quiet transformation at a time. Training never announces itself gently. It does not arrive with clarity or comfort. It enters disguised as loss, confusion, and emotional exhaustion. When Allah begins strengthening the heart, the first sensation is often grief. Something you relied on disappears, something you trusted fails, or something you expected no longer arrives. At that moment, it feels like subtraction. But Allah never subtracts without intention. Loss feels unbearable because the heart measures value by closeness and familiarity. What you had became part of your emotional structure, and when it was removed, imbalance followed. Allah allows this imbalance so the heart can recognize how much it leaned on something created instead of the Creator. This realization hurts, but it is necessary. A heart that never loses, never learns, where true stability lives. At the beginning of training, the heart protests. It asks why, it resists acceptance, it searches for ways to restore what was taken. This struggle is part of the process. Allah does not rush the heart through growth. He allows it to feel the ache fully so it can detach honestly. Forced detachment creates bitterness. Complete detachment creates peace. What looks like punishment is often protection wearing a harsh face. Allah removes people, plans, or paths before they can damage your faith. You may not see the danger they carried, but Allah does. Loss becomes the barrier that prevents a greater collapse later. The heart cannot always be warned. Sometimes it must be redirected. The early stage of training feels empty because the heart has not yet learned how to fill the space with Allah. Something was taken, but nothing has replaced it yet. This gap is uncomfortable. Silence fills the space where certainty once lived. Allah allows this gap so reliance can shift gradually, not artificially. Replacement comes after realignment. Loss humbles the heart in ways success never does. It strips away entitlement and false expectations. The heart learns that nothing is guaranteed except Allah's presence. This humility is not meant to crush you, it is meant to ground you. A grounded heart can carry blessings without arrogance and hardship without despair. The heart begins to notice patterns it once ignored. Repeated disappointments reveal repeated misplacements of hope. Allah uses loss as a mirror, showing the heart where it trusted too much, expected too much, or depended incorrectly. Awareness grows slowly, and with it, maturity. This awareness is painful but priceless. Training also exposes emotional habits that were hidden under comfort. When things were easy, patience was untested, and gratitude was assumed. Loss forces honesty. It reveals how the heart reacts when it does not get its way. Allah refines character through deprivation because it reveals truth without disguise. There is fear in this stage, fear that what was lost will never return. The heart worries that this emptiness is permanent, but Allah does not train hearts by abandoning them. He trains them by teaching them how to stand without crutches. Strength built this way lasts longer than comfort ever could. You may feel tempted to rush healing, to force acceptance, or to distract yourself from the ache. Allah allows the pain to linger because rushing would interrupt the lesson. Some attachments only loosen when the heart feels their absence fully. Shortcuts delay growth. Loss changes the way the heart listens. Dua becomes quieter, more sincere, less demanding. The heart stops negotiating and starts submitting. This shift marks progress, even if it feels like defeat. Allah values sincerity over strength, humility over control. In this stage, comparison becomes dangerous. You may look at others who seem untouched by loss and wonder why your path is heavier. But training is personalized. Allah does not train every heart the same way. He tailors difficulty to the capacity and potential of each soul. Loss creates space for something new, even when the heart cannot imagine what that might be yet. Allah clears what no longer fits before He introduces what does. Filling a full heart is impossible. Emptiness is preparation, not absence. This stage teaches endurance without reward. You continue despite no visible improvement. This endurance strengthens Iman at its core. Faith that survives without reinforcement becomes unshakable later. Allah builds depth before He builds relief. As painful as it is, loss simplifies life. It removes excess noise and false security. The heart becomes quieter, more observant, more honest. Allah values this simplicity because it leads to clarity. A clear heart sees guidance more easily. You may not recognize yourself in this season. Your reactions are different. Your priorities have shifted, and your tolerance has changed. This is not regression. It is transformation in progress. Allah is reshaping the heart's responses, not just its desires. Eventually, the heart stops fighting the loss and starts learning from it. Acceptance does not arrive suddenly. It grows slowly, quietly. When resistance fades, peace begins to enter. This is the turning point of training, even though the pain has not fully left yet. Loss teaches the heart how to release without hatred. It learns how to let go without becoming bitter. This emotional discipline is rare and valuable. Allah trains hearts to release gracefully, so future blessings are received wisely. By the time this stage ends, the heart is no longer the same. It is less reactive, less dependent, and more aware. What once defined you no longer controls you. Allah has reduced the weight of loss by increasing the strength of the heart. What felt like an ending is revealed as a foundation. The heart you are becoming could not exist without this loss. Allah used subtraction to create capacity, and when capacity is ready, filling it becomes a mercy instead of a test. At some point, the heart begins to realize that the pain is not only about what was taken, but about what it was attached to. Allah allows discomfort to surface when attachment starts to compete with trust. The heart may still believe in Allah, yet rely emotionally on something else for stability. This imbalance cannot last without consequences. So Allah intervenes gently at first, and firmly if needed, to restore order within the heart. Attachment feels safe because it is familiar. People, routines, plans, and outcomes give the illusion of control. The heart relaxes when it thinks it knows what comes next. But Allah never allows certainty to belong to creation. When attachment becomes a source of peace instead of Allah, it becomes fragile. Allah loosens it not to punish, but to protect the heart from collapse. The heart resists this separation because attachment feels like love. Letting go feels like betrayal, loss, or ingratitude. But Allah teaches that love and reliance are not the same. You can care deeply without anchoring your peace to something that can change. This distinction is learned through discomfort, not explanation. Allah teaches it by experience. When attachments are challenged, the heart feels exposed. Anxiety rises because the familiar support is no longer stable. This exposure is intentional. Allah wants the heart to feel what it is like without false security, so it can seek real security. Comfort built on creation always requires maintenance. Comfort built on Allah requires surrender. The heart may try to replace one attachment with another. When one source of peace is removed, it searches quickly for a substitute. Allah delays replacement, so the lesson is not bypassed. This delay is mercy. It prevents the heart from repeating the same mistake with a different form. True healing requires awareness before relief. Attachments often hide fears. Fear of being alone, fear of uncertainty, fear of losing control. Allah exposes these fears by removing what masked them. When fear surfaces, it becomes addressable. The heart learns that survival is not dependent on what it feared losing. This realization weakens attachment at its root. Allah does not remove everything at once. He removes layers gradually so the heart can adjust. Each separation reveals another place where reliance was misplaced. This process feels repetitive and exhausting, but it is precise. Allah is not dismantling the heart randomly. He is redesigning its foundation. The heart begins to notice a shift in priorities. What once seemed essential now feels optional. What once dominated thoughts now feels distant. This shift can feel empty at first, but emptiness is simply space that has not yet been filled correctly. Allah clears space before placing what truly belongs. When attachment loosens, durā changes. The heart stops asking Allah to preserve specific outcomes and starts asking for nearness and guidance instead. This change marks spiritual maturity. Allah values this form of dua because it reflects trust rather than fear. There is grief in this stage, but it is quieter than before. It is no longer about loss, but about adjustment. The heart is learning how to exist without clinging. This adjustment feels unnatural because clinging was once its habit. Allah allows time for this rewiring to occur naturally. The heart may feel less excited, less emotionally reactive, less driven by highs and lows. This is not numbness, it is stabilization. Allah is reducing emotional dependence so the heart can remain balanced regardless of circumstances. Balance is more valuable than constant happiness. Some relationships change during this stage. Conversations feel different, expectations shift, boundaries become clearer. This is not isolation, it is alignment. Allah aligns the heart with what supports faith, not what drains it. Distance becomes a form of protection. Letting go does not mean forgetting or erasing love. It means releasing control. The heart learns that it can love without possession, hope without insistence, and trust without guarantees. This freedom is unfamiliar, but deeply peaceful once it settles. There is resistance when the heart realizes that old comforts will not return in the same way. Acceptance takes time. Allah does not rush it. He allows the heart to mourn what no longer fits so it can welcome what does. Attachments shrink when the heart experiences Allah's sufficiency directly. Moments of calm arrive without explanation. Strength appears without support. These moments teach the heart that Allah alone is enough. This lesson cannot be taught verbally. It must be lived. As attachment loosens, fear loses power. The heart realizes that it did not break when what it feared losing was removed. This realization builds courage. Allah replaces dependency with confidence rooted in faith. The heart becomes lighter in this stage. Not because life is easy, but because fewer things are being carried. Emotional weight reduces as unnecessary burdens fall away. Allah simplifies the heart so it can move forward freely. There is clarity that comes with detachment. Decisions become cleaner. Priorities become sharper. The heart is no longer pulled in multiple directions. Allah values this clarity because it allows guidance to be followed without confusion. This redesign of attachment prepares the heart for something different. What is coming requires flexibility, trust, and inner stability. The old attachments would have interfered. Allah removed them so the heart could receive what aligns with its true purpose. By the end of this stage, the heart no longer panics at uncertainty. It rests even when answers are absent. This rest is not passive, it is rooted in trust. Allah has taught the heart where peace truly lives, and it no longer needs to search for it elsewhere. There comes a stage where Allah reduces noise rather than increasing difficulty. The chaos settles, but clarity does not arrive. This silence is unsettling because the heart expects reassurance after endurance. Yet Allah teaches that growth does not always come with signs. Sometimes the heart must learn how to stand without constant feedback. Silence becomes the environment where sincerity is tested and strengthened. In this quiet, dua feels different. Words still rise, but answers do not descend the way they used to. The heart wonders if it is being heard, but Allah hears every whisper. What He withholds is not attention, but response. This withholding teaches the heart to worship without transaction, to ask without demanding, and to trust without proof. Silence removes emotional dependency on outcomes. When nothing changes outwardly, the heart is forced inward. It confronts its intentions, its expectations, and its impatience. Allah allows this inward turn because the heart cannot mature while constantly reacting to external signs. Depth is built in stillness. This stage feels lonely because the heart has learned not to rely on people the way it once did, yet has not fully settled into reliance on Allah alone. The in-between feels empty, but this emptiness is temporary. Allah is teaching the heart how to remain present without clinging to reassurance. In silence, faith becomes quieter but deeper. It is no longer loud with emotion or excitement. It becomes steady, deliberate, and resilient. This is not loss of Iman, it is refinement. Allah values this form of faith because it endures without stimulation. The heart may question its own sincerity during this stage. It may wonder if worship still matters when it feels dry. Allah allows this dryness to remove performative faith. What remains is real. Worship that continues without emotional reward is worship rooted in submission. Silence exposes impatience. The heart wants movement, change, or at least acknowledgement. Allah delays all three so patience can develop without conditions. Conditional patience collapses when results are slow. Unconditional patience becomes strength. This stage teaches restraint. The heart learns not to chase signs, not to force meaning, not to demand clarity before continuing. Allah trains the heart to move forward even when the path is dim. This is how trust becomes embodied rather than conceptual. The absence of response is not absence of care. Allah sometimes remains silent because He is teaching the heart to listen rather than speak. Silence sharpens awareness, it quiets the ego, and amplifies reflection. During this phase, the heart may feel emotionally flat. Joy is subtle, sadness is controlled, and reactions are muted. This emotional leveling is intentional. Allah is stabilizing the heart so it is no longer controlled by extremes. Silence removes dependency on spiritual highs. The heart no longer worships for feeling but for truth. Allah trains hearts to obey even when worship feels ordinary. Ordinary obedience carries extraordinary weight. In silence, the heart learns to sit with unanswered questions without panic. It stops trying to resolve everything immediately. Allah uses unresolved space to teach humility. Some knowledge arrives later, when the heart is ready. This stage reveals how much the heart once relied on validation. When no reassurance comes, the heart learns to continue alone. Allah strengthens it through solitude, not isolation, but intentional quiet. The silence teaches the heart to differentiate between urgency and importance. Not everything needs immediate resolution. Allah slows the pace, so wisdom can catch up with emotion. In this quiet, the heart becomes more observant. It notices small blessings, subtle guidance, and internal shifts that were once drowned out by noise. Silence sharpens perception. Allah uses silence to remove entitlement. The heart learns that it is not owed clarity on its timeline. Submission replaces negotiation. This shift deepens faith. This stage often lasts longer than expected. Allah extends it because rushing would undo the work. The heart must fully adjust to functioning without constant feedback before moving forward. When silence ends, it does so quietly. There is no dramatic moment. The heart simply realizes it is stronger, steadier, and less dependent. Allah does not announce completion. He reveals it through transformation. Silence prepares the heart to receive guidance without resistance. When answers come later, they land gently. The heart no longer demands them, it receives them with gratitude. By the end of this stage, the heart has learned how to remain faithful without emotional reinforcement. This lesson changes everything. It allows the heart to walk with Allah steadily, not just when the path feels clear, but even when it is silent. There comes a realization that this season is not only changing what surrounds you, but who you are becoming inside. The heart begins to sense that the old version of you cannot survive where Allah is leading you. Certain habits, reactions, and expectations no longer fit. This awareness is unsettling because identity feels tied to familiarity. Yet Allah never takes someone forward without first reshaping them. The heart resists this internal change more than external loss. Letting go of people is painful, but letting go of patterns feels like losing yourself. Allah allows this discomfort because growth cannot occur while the heart clings to outdated ways of thinking. What once protected you may now limit you. Allah removes what worked before, so it does not block what comes next. Some behaviors fade naturally in this stage. You react less, explain less, and argue less. What once demanded emotional energy now feels unworthy of it. This is not indifference. It is discernment. Allah trains the heart to conserve strength for what truly matters. Expectations begin to loosen. You no longer need life to look a certain way to feel at peace. This shift is quiet but powerful. Allah frees the heart from the exhaustion of constant anticipation. When expectations fall away, disappointment loses its grip. The heart may grieve its former self. There was comfort in familiarity, even if it was flawed. Allah allows this grief because honoring the past makes releasing it easier. Growth does not require erasing who you were, only recognizing who you can no longer be. This stage often brings clarity about boundaries. You notice where you overgave, over-explained, or overextended. Allah teaches the heart to protect itself without guilt. Boundaries are not rejection. They are stewardship of the heart Allah entrusted to you. Old fears lose their power here. Situations that once triggered anxiety now pass quietly. This does not mean fear is gone, but it is no longer in control. Allah reduces fear by increasing trust, not by eliminating uncertainty. The heart becomes less reactive to praise and less wounded by criticism. External voices fade in influence as internal conviction strengthens. Allah builds this independence so the heart can walk forward without constant validation. There is less urgency in this stage. The heart stops chasing timelines and outcomes. It learns that rushing does not bring peace. Allah slows the heart down so it can align with wisdom rather than impulse. Some relationships feel distant now, not because of conflict, but because alignment has shifted. Conversations feel surface level or draining. Allah allows this distance so the heart can preserve what it has learned. Not every connection is meant to follow you forward. The heart becomes more selective with energy. Rest feels necessary, not lazy. Solitude feels restorative, not lonely. Allah teaches the heart how to replenish itself without dependence on distraction. There is an internal firmness developing. Decisions are made with less hesitation. The heart no longer needs excessive reassurance. Allah strengthens conviction by removing emotional noise. This stage often feels quiet and uneventful. Nothing dramatic happens outwardly, but inwardly, foundations are settling. Allah works deeply before He works visibly. This is the stage where permanence is formed. The heart starts responding rather than reacting. It pauses before speaking, reflects before acting. This restraint is not weakness, it is control. Allah values restraint because it preserves dignity and clarity. Old desires feel less urgent. What once felt essential now feels optional. Allah refines desire so it does not override purpose. This refinement brings peace, even when life remains uncertain. There is acceptance here, but not resignation. The heart accepts what is, without giving up on what could be. Allah balances hope with contentment so neither becomes harmful. This stage reveals inner strength that was always there, but never needed before. Allah does not create strength, He uncovers it. Difficulty reveals what ease never required. The heart becomes steady, not numb, not cold, but anchored. Emotions pass through without controlling direction. Allah stabilizes the heart so it can carry both joy and hardship responsibly. By the end of this stage, you may not recognize who you used to be, and that is intentional. The person you were could not carry what Allah is preparing to place in your hands. This transformation is not meant to be noticed immediately. Its proof appears later, when life tests you again and you realize you are standing differently. Allah has finished removing what could not go with you, and now the heart is ready for what comes next.